The night sky burned with red fire. Warships clashed above a dying planet. Laser beams cut across the darkness. Explosions shook the ground like angry thunder. Among the chaos, a young alien warrior girl stood tall. Her name was Kayla, known for her courage. Her silver armor reflected the flames of battle. Her blade glowed bright, a symbol of her people's honor. Kayla had fought for many years. She had faced countless enemies. She had defended her people again and again. But this time something was different. This time she trusted her closest allies. And this time, they betrayed her. Kayla's squad was ordered to lead a strike. They moved across the ruined city. Their mission was simple: destroy the enemy command base. She led from the front, fearless and strong. Her heart beat with loyalty. Her spirit burned with faith. But as she charged into the shadows, her squad slowed their steps. They stayed behind, their eyes cold. Kayla looked back, confused. "Why are you not with me?" Her voice cracked. No answer came, only silence. And then, the betrayal began. Blinding fire shot from behind. Her own people fired at her back. Kayla fell to her knees, armor burning. She screamed in pain, not from the wounds, but from the truth in her heart. The ones she trusted most had left her for dead. Smoke filled her lungs. Her vision blurred. Her so-called friends turned away. They left her broken body in the ruins. She heard their voices fading. "Leave her. She is nothing now. Her death will be useful to us." Her soul shattered. Her honor was stolen. Her faith in her people turned to ashes. Kayla lay among the rubble, her hands shaking, her blade broken beside her. The city burned and the sky rained fire. Her mind whispered one word again and again. Why minutes felt like hours. Her body grew weak. Her blood painted the ground beneath her. Her breath came in painful gasp. Still, she refused to surrender. Her spirit was not ready to die, but death was coming closer with every heartbeat. Suddenly, the ground shook louder than before. Her ship, damaged in the fight, began to fall. Its engines screamed as it crashed through the burning sky. Kayla forced herself to crawl. She dragged her broken body toward the wreck. If she could reach it, maybe she could escape. Maybe she could live to see another sunrise. Her arms ached. Her vision faded in and out. Her world spun with smoke and dust. Still, she pushed forward. In her heart, she carried one final promise. If she lived, she would make them pay. If she survived, she would never forgive the ones who betrayed her. The ship hit the ground with a deafening roar. Fire spread in waves of heat. Metal broke into shards. The wreck lay across the hills of stone. Kayla's body collapsed only a few steps away. She could smell the smoke. She could taste blood in her mouth. Her eyes closed halfway. Her hands trembled as she reached for the wreck, but her strength was gone. Darkness swallowed her. Memories of her people flashed in her mind. Faces of those who betrayed her haunted her soul. She saw their cold eyes, their cruel smiles. Her chest filled with anger and sorrow. Her spirit fought against the silence, but her body was weak. Her life was slipping away. The planet's night grew quiet. The war above moved farther away. The battlefield lay silent except for the crackling of fire. Kayla's broken body rested near the shipwreck. The stars shone faintly above the smoke. It seemed like the end of her story. A warrior abandoned, betrayed, and left to die. But destiny was not finished with her. Somewhere beyond the smoke, footsteps approached. Not the steps of her betrayers, not the voice of her enemies, but something different, something unexpected. A new chapter waited in the shadows, and Kayla's story was only beginning. The night was quiet after the storm of battle. Fires burned across the hills. Smoke rose into the dark sky. The ground was broken, filled with scars of war. In the distance, a young human man walked carefully. His name was Adrian, a traveler, a survivor. He was not a soldier, not a king, not a leader. He was just a man searching for hope in a broken world. Adrian had lived on the edge of the colonies. He had seen wars between alien races. He had watched empires rise and fall, but he never wanted to be part of it. He only wanted peace. He only wanted a life away from fire and blood. That night, as he moved across the silent land, he saw the wreck of a burning ship. Sparks danced in the air like falling stars. The metal groaned as flames consumed it. And then, he saw her. The alien warrior girl lay broken near the wreck, her armor cracked, her face pale, her body covered in wounds. She looked less like a warrior and more like a fallen angel. Adrian's heart froze. He had heard stories of alien fighters, cold, merciless, dangerous. But what he saw was different. He saw a soul near death. He saw someone abandoned. He saw someone who still breathed but barely. For a moment, he hesitated. His mind whispered fear. She is not one of us. Leave her. She could kill you. But his heart spoke louder. She is alive. She is suffering. You cannot walk away. Adrian knelt beside her. He touched her shoulder gently. Her eyes flickered open, glowing faint in the firelight. She looked at him with suspicion. Her lips moved weakly. A language he did not know escaped her mouth. Her hand twitched toward a broken blade nearby, but she had no strength. Her arm fell back to the ground. Adrian whispered softly, "Easy now. I will not harm you." His voice was calm, his hands steady. The girl blinked, confused. She had been betrayed once tonight. Why would this stranger help her? Why would an outsider care if she lived or died? Adrian lifted her carefully. She was heavier than he expected, her armor pressed against his chest. Her breath came shallow and weak. Still, he carried her away from the fire, step by step, through smoke and dust. Every step was a struggle, but he refused to stop. Behind them, shadows moved in the night. Far above, enemy ships searched the ruins. Scouts hunted for survivors. If they found her, she would be finished. And if they saw him with her, he would be finished too. Adrian knew the danger, but he did not let go. The weight in his arms was more than a wounded warrior. It was the weight of a choice, the choice to save a stranger when the world said not to. They reached a cave hidden among rocks. Adrian laid her gently on the cold ground, her eyes half closed, her voice only a whisper. He could not understand her words, but he understood her pain. Her wounds were deep, her skin burned with fever, her blood stained the stone floor. Adrian tore strips from his own clothes. He cleaned her wounds. He wrapped her injuries with careful hands. He gave her water, drop by drop. She resisted at first, but her body needed it. She drank slowly, her eyes softening. For the first time, she saw not an enemy, but a human who chose kindness. The night passed in silence. The fire outside burned lower. The sky grew darker, filled with distant stars. Adrian sat beside her, watching her breathe, his mind full of questions. Who was she? Why was she here? Why was she left for dead? He did not know her story. He did not know the betrayal that broke her heart. But he knew one thing: she was alive because of him. And tomorrow, he would face whatever came next. He would not abandon her, even if the whole galaxy came hunting. As dawn touched the horizon, the girl stirred. Her lips moved again. This time, one word escaped in broken human tongue. Her voice was weak but sharp, her eyes locked on him. Why did this human save her? Why did he not leave her to die? Adrian's answer was simple. Because life is precious, and you are still alive. The words reached her heart. She had no strength to reply, but deep inside something shifted. For the first time since the betrayal, she felt a spark of hope. For the first time, she felt she was not alone. Outside, danger still waited. The enemies who betrayed her were still searching. The war was not finished. But inside the cave, a fragile bond was born between a human who believed in mercy and an alien warrior who had lost everything. Their journey had only just begun. The storm of fate was still ahead, but already, two souls had crossed paths. Two lives had changed forever, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The cave was silent. Only the sound of her weak breathing filled the air. Adrian sat close, his eyes heavy but alert. He had not slept. He dared not sleep. The alien warrior girl, Kayla, lay wrapped in cloth, her wounds still raw, her skin pale beneath the dim light. Adrian had done all he could, but she was far from healed. Each breath seemed like a fight between life and death. When morning came, her eyes opened slowly. They glowed faint, like fading embers of fire. She looked around, confused, suspicious, her gaze locked on the human who had saved her. Her voice came as a whisper, broken and heavy. Where am I?" Adrian answered gently. "You are safe. At least for now." She tried to sit up, but pain forced her back down. Her pride burned. She hated this weakness. For all her life she had been strong, but now she was broken. She felt trapped, helpless in the hands of a stranger. Adrian noticed her anger. "You should rest, your wounds are deep," he said softly. She turned her head away. Her heart screamed not to trust. Her memory still burned with betrayal. Why would another risk his life for her, especially someone not of her kind? Hours passed slow. Adrian brought her water again. She hesitated but drank. Her lips trembled as she swallowed. "Why?" she whispered again. "Why do this for me?" Adrian looked into her glowing eyes. "Because no one deserves to be left behind." Kayla's chest tightened. The words struck her deeper than any blade. She remembered the moment her own people left her, the fire in their eyes, the coldness in their hearts. Her mind repeated the same question. Why did they betray her? Why did they want her gone? That night, as she tried to sleep, she was trapped in dreams of fire and smoke. She saw her squad again. She heard their voices. "Leave her. She is nothing now." The words echoed like poison. Kayla clenched her fists in her sleep. Her body trembled. She whispered a name through her dream. Drex. Adrian heard it. The way she said it was filled with pain, with rage, with sorrow. He leaned closer, whispering, "Who is Drex?" But she did not answer. Her dream pulled her deeper into the shadows of her past. When she woke again, sweat covered her face. Her eyes darted around the cave. Adrian met her gaze calmly. "You said a name," he told her. "Drex, who is that?" She froze, silent, her heart beat faster. For a moment she wanted to speak, but then fear closed her lips. Could she trust him with the truth, or would he turn away like the rest? Adrian did not push her. Instead, he handed her food, small pieces of dried bread. She took them carefully. Her pride hated the weakness, but her body needed the strength. She ate slowly, each bite tasting bitter, not from the food, but from the memory of betrayal. Day by day, Kayla's body began to heal. Her wounds closed, her strength returned little by little, but her heart was still heavy. Her eyes still carried the storm. Adrian watched her closely. He saw the warrior spirit behind her silence. He saw her strength, and he also saw her pain. Sometimes, when the night was quiet, she would study him in secret. This human was strange. He had no reason to help her, yet he worked hard to keep her alive. Why, she thought again and again, why risk his life for a stranger? On the fourth night, as stars lit the sky, Kayla finally spoke more. Her voice was low, her words heavy. "They left me," she whispered. Adrian turned to her, listening. "They were my own, my people, my squad." Her fists clenched, her eyes burned. "They betrayed me. They left me to die." Adrian said nothing. He only let her speak. "They feared me, or maybe they wanted power. I do not know." Her voice cracked with anger. "But I remember the look in his eyes, Drex, my commander, my friend. He gave the order and they obeyed." Her breath shook, her chest rose and fell, her heart bled with the memory. Adrian placed a hand gently near hers, not touching, but close. "I am sorry," he whispered. Her eyes met his, sharp and searching. "Sorry will not change what they did," she replied. Her tone was bitter, yet her voice trembled. "They took everything from me." Silence filled the cave. The fire crackled faintly. Adrian finally spoke. "Then take it back. Live and fight for yourself, not for them." Kayla looked at him, stunned. His words were simple, but they struck deep. For the first time, someone told her she could rise again, not for duty, not for honor, but for herself. She turned her face away, but inside her spirit stirred. A seed of something new grew in her heart, something she had not felt since before the betrayal. It was not trust yet, it was not love yet. But it was the beginning, and it was dangerous, because for the first time, she wondered if this human could change her fate. Outside the cave, the night grew darker. Shadows moved across the land. Hunters searched the ruins. The ones who betrayed her had not forgotten. They feared she might live, and they were coming closer. Inside, Kayla closed her eyes again, her body resting, her spirit restless. She carried the name Drex like fire in her chest. She carried the kindness of a human like light in her soul. And deep inside, she knew the battle was not finished. It was only waiting to begin again. The days passed slowly in the hidden cave. Kayla's body grew stronger. Though her heart remained heavy, her wounds closed, her breath steadied, her fire returned. Yet the shadow of betrayal never left her mind. Adrian watched her carefully. Every day she practiced standing, walking, and holding her broken blade. She pushed herself even when her body shook. She refused to stay weak. Her pride as a warrior would not let her. Adrian respected her strength, but he also feared what might come. He had seen the way she whispered names in her sleep. He had heard her mutter Drex, filled with anger and sorrow. There was a storm inside her, and storms always brought danger. One evening, the sky above the cave changed. A strange hum echoed across the hills. Adrian stepped outside and saw distant lights. Shadows moved like predators searching the land. The hunters were here. The ones who betrayed Kayla were looking for her. He rushed back inside, his voice urgent. "They are coming." Kayla's eyes narrowed, sharp as steel. Her hand gripped her broken blade. "They fear I might live," she whispered. "They are right to fear." Adrian's heart pounded. He was only a man, not a soldier. He had no army, no weapons, but a few tools. But when he looked at her, standing tall despite her pain, he knew he would not run. He had chosen to help her, and he would not abandon her now. That night, the air grew tense. Kayla sharpened a piece of metal into a new weapon. Adrian prepared traps with stones and wires. Every sound outside felt closer. Every shadow seemed alive. Kayla finally spoke, her voice firm. "If they find us, they will kill you too." Adrian looked at her without fear. "Then I will fight with you." Her eyes widened, surprised. No one had ever said such words to her, not even her own people. For the first time, she felt something strange in her chest, something she did not want to name yet. The next day, they heard the first signs, footsteps on the rocks, whispers carried by the wind, symbols carved into the ground by scouts. Kayla crouched low, her senses sharp. "They are close," she said. Adrian nodded, his hands tightening around a heavy stick. The silence broke with a sudden attack. 3 alien scouts rushed into the cave mouth. Their eyes glowed red. their weapons ready. Kayla moved like lightning despite her injuries. Her blade clashed with theirs, sparks flying in the dark. Adrian swung his stick, striking one scout across the head. The sound of battle filled the cave, echoing through the stone. Kayla fought with fury. Her body remembered the ways of war. Each strike of her blade was filled with rage at those who betrayed her. Rage at the name Drex. Adrian fought clumsily, yet bravely. He did not back down even when fear screamed inside him. Together they drove the scouts out. Two lay broken on the ground. The third fled into the night, carrying a warning to his commander. Kayla's chest rose and fell. Her hands shook from the fight. Adrian's face was covered in dust and sweat. They looked at each other. For the first time, they had fought side by side, and for the first time, Kayla felt she was not alone. But the danger was far from over. The fleeing scout would bring news. The betrayers would send more. And soon, not just scouts, but armies. That night, as the fire burned low, Kayla sat in silence, staring at the stars. Adrian joined her, his voice soft. "You cannot fight this alone, not anymore." She did not answer at first. Her pride resisted, her heart resisted, but deep inside, she knew he was right. Finally, she spoke. "They will never stop until I am gone." Adrian looked at her firmly. "Then we make them stop." His words carried no fear, only resolve. She turned her gaze to him, searching. Who was this human? Why did he risk everything for her? She did not understand, but she felt her spirit stir again. In the distance, drums of war echoed. The enemy commander Drex prepared his strike. He remembered the girl he betrayed. He feared the fire in her soul. He told his soldiers, "She must not live. Finish her this time and kill anyone who stands with her." The galaxy turned slowly under the stars, but for Kayla and Adrian, time felt heavy. Each moment was a step closer to war. Each breath was filled with tension. Kayla sharpened her weapon again. Adrian built stronger traps. Both of them knew the storm was coming. Both of them knew survival would demand more than courage. It would demand trust. It would demand something even stronger. As the night grew colder, Kayla whispered to herself, "Drex, I will not fall again." Adrian heard her, his hand resting on the ground beside hers. He did not speak, but his presence was enough. The alien warrior and the human survivor. Two lives tied together by fate. Two hearts standing against the rising threat. And beyond the hills, the betrayers marched closer. Their ships lit the sky with red fire. Their shadows stretched long across the land. The storm of battle was coming again. And this time, it would decide more than life or death. It would decide who they truly were. The night broke with fire. Enemy ships descended from the clouds. Their engines roared like thunder across the land. The ground shook as soldiers poured out in numbers. Inside the cave, Kayla tightened the straps on her cracked armor. Her blade, though broken, still gleamed with fierce light. Adrian stood beside her, holding nothing but a steel pipe. He had no training, no experience, but his eyes carried the same fire she carried. The enemy commander Drex had sent his hunters. Not scouts this time, but full squads armed with heavy weapons. They were determined to finish what they started, to erase Kayla from existence, to destroy anyone who dared to help her. Kayla's heart pounded as she listened to the echo of marching feet. This was no small ambush. This was war at her doorstep. Adrian glanced at her, his voice steady. "We fight together." She gave him a sharp look. "You will die." But he shook his head. "Then I will die fighting with you." The words struck her. A human, fragile and untrained, willing to face death for her. Her own people had abandoned her, but this stranger refused to let go. For the first time since the betrayal, Kayla felt the weight of loyalty again. The enemy reached the hills. Their torches burned bright. Their shadows stretched long. A horn sounded sharp and cruel. The hunt had begun. Kayla crouched low. "Wait for my signal," she whispered. Adrian nodded, his grip tight on the pipe. His heart thundered, but his spirit did not break. The first wave entered the cave. 3 soldiers with blades raised high. Kayla leaped forward, her broken weapon slashing with deadly skill. She moved like fire, fast and ruthless. One fell instantly, the other staggered back. The third turned his weapon toward her side, but Adrian charged in, swinging his pipe with raw strength. The blow cracked against the soldier's helmet, sending him crashing to the ground. Kayla glanced at Adrian, surprised. He was no soldier, but he fought without fear. Side by side, they stood against the invaders. And for a brief moment, she felt alive again, but the waves did not stop. More soldiers stormed into the cave, the air filled with the clash of steel and the cry of war. Kayla spun, her blade flashing. Adrian ducked and struck, his body moving with desperate instinct. Every strike, every breath was a battle for survival. Outside, fire rained from the sky. The enemy set the hills ablaze to trap them inside. Smoke filled the cave, choking the air. Kayla growled, her strength burning. "We cannot stay here. We must break out." She led the charge through the smoke, Adrian at her side. The enemy waited outside, lines of soldiers ready. Kayla raised her broken blade. Adrian clenched his fists, and together, they ran into the storm. The battle raged across the rocks. Kayla fought like a storm reborn. Her fury gave her strength beyond her wounds. Every strike cut down another enemy. Her eyes burned with fire. Her spirit roared with vengeance. Adrian stayed close, striking, pushing, never falling back. He was clumsy, but his courage was unshakable. The enemy began to falter. They had expected an easy kill, but instead they faced two souls fighting with one heart. For the first time, Kayla felt the strange bond between them. He was not her people, not her kind, yet he stood closer than any ally she ever had. Then the ground shook again. From the enemy camp, a larger figure appeared. Drex himself, tall, armored, his eyes cold as ice. Kayla froze for a heartbeat. The man who betrayed her stood before her, the ghost of her nightmares made flesh. Drex's voice thundered across the battlefield. "You should have stayed dead." Kayla's grip tightened, her rage rising. "You should have stood by me," she roared back, their eyes locked, a storm between them. The soldiers pulled back. They knew this was not their fight. It was Kayla's fight. It was the clash of betrayal and survival. But Adrian stepped forward too. He would not leave her alone, not now, not ever. The duel began. Drex's blade clashed against Kayla's broken weapon. The sound rang like thunder across the rocks. She fought with fury, but his strength was great, her body still weak, her wounds still fresh. Every strike shook her arms, every block drained her energy. Adrian rushed in to help. Drex swung at him, nearly cutting him down, but Adrian dodged, striking back with his pipe. The blow hit Drex's armor, not enough to break it, but enough to distract him. Kayla used the moment, her blade slashed across Drex's arm, sparks flying. Drex staggered back, rage twisting his face. "You will regret this," he snarled. Kayla stood tall, her chest heaving, Adrian at her side, bruised but unbroken. "We fight together," Adrian said again, and Kayla for the first time nodded. "Yes, together." The battle was not over. The enemy still filled the hills, the fire still burned around them, but now Kayla knew something she had forgotten. Strength was not just the blade in her hand, it was the heart that fought beside her. It was the bond between her and the human who refused to leave. The war had only begun, but the betrayers had made their mistake. They thought she was weak. They thought she was alone. But Kayla was not alone anymore, and with Adrian she would rise again. The battle in the hills had shaken the night. Kayla and Adrian had survived, but the war was far from over. The enemy retreated for now, carrying their wounded back to camp. But Kayla knew it was only the beginning. Drex would not stop. He wanted her gone, erased, forgotten. He feared what she knew, feared the fire in her heart, and he feared that she was no longer fighting alone. In the cave, Kayla sat by the fire, her hands trembling. She stared at the flames, lost in thought. Adrian sat across from her, his body bruised, his arm bandaged, yet his eyes held no regret, only determination. Finally, Kayla spoke, her voice low. "I cannot run anymore." Adrian leaned forward, listening. "They will keep hunting, again and again, until I fall." Her eyes burned with fury. "I will not hide like a broken shadow. I will face them." Adrian nodded slowly. "Then I will face them with you." Her gaze sharpened, searching his face. "You saw Drex. He is stronger, faster, trained in war." Adrian smiled faintly. "Then we find another way. We fight not just with strength, but with heart." Kayla's chest tightened. The words echoed inside her. Strength was not just in the blade. Strength was in the will to rise again. Strength was in the bond she never thought she would have. Over the next days they prepared. Kayla trained her body harder, forcing her wounds to heal faster. She sharpened weapons from wreckage. She rebuilt pieces of her armor. Adrian worked beside her, building traps, crafting tools. He learned from her movements, clumsy at first, but each day better. Together, they became something more than survivors. They became partners in war. At night, Kayla shared fragments of her past. She spoke of her people, proud and merciless. She spoke of Drex, once her commander, once her friend. Her voice cracked when she told how he gave the order to leave her behind. Adrian listened without judgment. He did not see a broken warrior. He saw someone fighting to reclaim herself, and each word she spoke stitched a thread of trust between them. When the seventh night came, scouts returned. They left marks on the rocks, signals of war. Kayla watched the sky and saw Drex's warship rising. The time had come. Her heart burned with anger, but also with clarity. She was no longer fighting for revenge alone. She was fighting for redemption. She was fighting to prove she was more than betrayal. The next day they moved toward the enemy camp. The air was heavy with smoke and steel. Drums of war echoed through the valley. Adrian walked beside her, his jaw set. Every step was dangerous, but neither turned back. They reached the cliffs overlooking the enemy camp. Hundreds of soldiers gathered below. At the center stood Drex, his armor shining under the firelight. Kayla's breath caught, her chest filled with rage. Her mind whispered the word again and again. Betrayer. Adrian placed a hand on her shoulder. You are not alone, he said softly. Kayla turned her head slightly, her eyes meeting his. For a moment, the world fell silent. In that silence, something changed. Her anger did not vanish, but it no longer controlled her. It became focus. It became fire guided by strength. They moved at dawn. The ambush was swift. Kayla struck first, her blade flashing. Adrian triggered traps, explosions tearing through the camp. Chaos spread among the soldiers, but Drex stood tall, unshaken. His voice roared, "Face me, Kayla!" The battlefield parted. Soldiers pulled back to watch. It was her moment, the duel she could not escape. Kayla stepped forward, her blade ready. Adrian stood close behind her, but she lifted her hand, stopping him. "This fight is mine," she said firmly. He hesitated, then nodded, but his eyes never left her. The clash shook the ground. Drex's strikes were heavy, merciless. Kayla's arms ached with every block. Her wounds screamed with every movement, but her spirit roared louder. "I will not fall again," she cried. Their blades clashed again and again, sparks filling the air. Drex sneered, "You were weak, that is why we left you." Kayla's eyes blazed. "No, I was strong, that is why you feared me." Her blade struck with fury, cutting across his chest. For the first time, Drex stumbled, his pride shaken. Adrian shouted from behind, "Finish it, Kayla." Her heart pounded. She saw the faces of her squad, the betrayal, the pain, the abandonment. But then she saw Adrian, standing firm, the one who stayed, the one who believed. Her rage melted into something greater, not hate, but strength, not revenge, but redemption. With a final cry, she struck. Her blade pierced through Drex's armor. The betrayer fell to his knees, his eyes wide with disbelief. The soldiers gasped, silence sweeping the camp. Kayla stood tall, breathing hard, her blade dripping with fire and blood. She looked down at him. "You left me to die, but I rose again, stronger, not because of you, but in spite of you." Drex's eyes dimmed, his body collapsed. The ground trembled with the weight of his fall. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Without their commander, their will was broken. They scattered into the shadows. The war was over. For now, Kayla turned to Adrian, her chest heaving, her eyes wet with tears she could no longer hide. He stepped forward, steady and calm. "You did it," he whispered. "No," she replied, her voice soft. "We did it." For the first time since the betrayal, Kayla felt whole, not because she won, but because she was no longer alone. Her redemption was not in the blade. Her redemption was in the bond she had found, in the trust she had gained, in the love that had begun to bloom. The battlefield lay silent after the storm. The smoke drifted slowly across the broken valley. The flames dimmed, the cries of war faded. Only the sound of the wind remained. Kayla stood tall, her blade lowered, her armor cracked, her body bruised, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. The betrayer Drex was gone, his shadow finally ended. Adrian walked to her side, his steps slow, his body heavy with exhaustion. His face carried dirt and blood, yet his eyes carried pride. "You stood against them all," he whispered. Kayla turned to him, her voice steady. "No, we stood together." The soldiers who had followed Drex scattered into the night. None dared to face her after what they had seen. For the first time, Kayla felt the weight of freedom, not freedom from war, but freedom from chains of betrayal. She had faced her past, and she had survived. But survival was not the end. The galaxy was wide, and danger still waited. Her enemies might return, stronger and more ruthless. Yet Kayla no longer feared, because now she was not alone. They walked back to the cave, the night sky above them full of stars. Each step was slow, each breath heavy, but their hearts were lighter than ever before. Inside the cave, Kayla sat by the fire. She placed her broken blade across her lap, her hand traced the cracks. The weapon was damaged, yet still standing. Just like her, Adrian sat beside her, his pipe still in his hands. He laughed softly, shaking his head. "I never thought I would fight aliens with a piece of metal." Kayla looked at him, and for the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. In that moment, silence filled the cave, not heavy silence, but peaceful silence, the kind that spoke without words, the kind that healed wounds no medicine could. Kayla leaned back against the stone wall, her eyes softened, her voice quiet. You could have left me to die. Adrian turned. To her, his gaze calm. And you could have killed me when I found you. She tilted her head slightly, thoughtful. Why did you stay? She asked again. Adrian's answer was simple. Because sometimes one choice can change everything. Her chest tightened. The words struck her deeper than any blade. She realized that his choice had not only saved her body, it had saved her spirit. It had given her something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. Days turned into weeks. Kayla's strength returned fully. Her wounds became scars. Her heart, once shattered, slowly pieced itself together. Adrian stayed by her side through it all. He learned from her. She learned from him. Together they rebuilt not just weapons, but trust. Sometimes they sat under the stars. Kayla told him about distant worlds, about the beauty of her people's ancient lands, about the betrayal that burned them all away. Adrian told her about his childhood, about the colonies, about the quiet life he once dreamed of. Their stories blended like rivers meeting at the sea, two lives once far apart, now bound together. One night, as the fire burned low, Kayla looked at him with steady eyes. You changed me, she said. Adrian raised an eyebrow. I thought you needed no one, he teased. Kayla's lips curved faintly. I needed someone who would not leave. Her words hung in the air, simple, yet heavy. For her, they meant more than any confession of love. For him, they were proof that his choice had mattered. Adrian reached out slowly. His hand brushed hers, rough and warm. Kayla did not pull away. Instead, her fingers tightened around his. For the first time, she allowed herself to feel what she had buried. For the first time, she let her heart speak. The stars above shone brighter. The galaxy stretched endless before them. Danger still lurked. Enemies still waited. But Kayla no longer walked alone. She had found a bond stronger than blood, stronger than betrayal. She had found love. The next morning, they stood together on the cliff. The sun rose across the horizon. Its light spilled over the ruins, washing away the shadows. Adrian looked at her. What now? He asked. Kayla lifted her chin, her eyes fierce yet calm. Now we keep moving forward no matter what comes. Her voice carried strength, not the strength of anger, not the strength of revenge, but the strength of redemption. Adrian nodded. Then forward it is. Together they walked away from the battlefield, step by step into the unknown. Their journey was not finished. It was only beginning, and wherever the path would lead, they would face it side by side. For Kayla, the betrayal had once defined her, but now, it was only part of her story. The true story was written in the bond she had found, in the courage of a human who stood when all others had left, in the love that grew out of ashes and fire. And so, the galaxy would remember not just the warrior who was betrayed, not just the girl who was left for dead, but the one who rose again, the one who found strength in another heart, the one who walked into victory, not alone, but together,